Subscriber Q&A, September 2024. I put up a post earlier this week soliciting questions from you guys, and tonight we're going to go through and answer as many as I can. This is the first time I'm doing this, so bear with me. I'm excited to jump into this. I've peeked at a couple of these. I haven't gone through and screened them at all. I'm just going to jump in, answer them as we go. So let's dive into this. At Sean Richardson 118, what gives you the most joy when it comes to RCs? Man, good question. The most joy. I think the most joy comes from when you get in the zone, when you're either working on them, when you're tinkering and tuning and you just get into the flow, or if you're out on the rocks and you're just so focused on the driving experience and you get kind of lost and immersed in the experience, everything else just kind of fades away. It's almost like a form of meditation. That to me is probably the most enjoyable thing because it's a great escape from the grind and the hectic pace of daily life. So I really look to RC as an escape and an outlet and a way to calm my mind. At Betrib Anin, I'm going to apologize if I butcher any of these names, bear with me here, asks, I saw that Reefs RC makes a servo for the TRX 4M. Do you have any experience with them and would you recommend them? Yes, absolutely. Reefs makes excellent products. I have a couple of their Reefs 179s, their micro servos, incredibly powerful. One of the biggest advantages of Reefs is that they're one of the only high performance micro servos that are fully submarine waterproof. So if you're going to be taking your rig through water in nasty conditions, these things are going to hold up well. Reefs in general makes great servos, so yes, highly recommend them. What shocks do you recommend for the TRX 4M at Louis Weschler? I really like the Endura 59mm shocks. They can be a little long and unload on you in some cases, but the Endura shocks for the TRX 4M I've had good luck with. They do get a little leaky, but overall for the money, those have worked really well for me. At Bray FD1192, how waterproof is the SCX24 stock? So funny story here, when I was testing the refreshed SCX24 Jeep Gladiator, I was driving along at Crawler Heaven, one of our favorite spots, and it was going along a ledge and it fell off the side of the ledge and it landed right into a 5-gallon bucket full of water. And I was about 20 feet away, so I had to run over there, run around the obstacle and grab it. It had sunk to the bottom, fully submerged. I reached in, I pulled it out, and the thing ran perfect for months after that. So I would have initially said that they were splash proof and water resistant, but after that full submersion and no issues, I would say that they are I would say heavily water resistant. I'm hesitant to say waterproof because I don't want you to go out there and sink one, but I know firsthand that they can take a lot of water. At Sawyer RCs 1 asks, what were your hobbies before RCs? Mine was fishing. Thanks for the constant great uploads, by the way. Thanks for watching. Appreciate that. My hobbies before RCs, I raced professional or semi-professional motocross for a while. From the time I was in high school, all the way through high school, and then a few years after, before I realized that I didn't have the talent and I didn't have the money and the backing necessary to invest in the sport to take me to that next level. So when the motocross dream kind of died, I needed some sort of competitive outlet. I'm a very competitive person. I came across competitive bodybuilding. I'd been into fitness ever since in my early 20s. I trained to be in good shape for motocross. So when I stopped racing motocross, I kind of transitioned into bodybuilding and fitness. When men's physique came along, I competed in men's physique in the OCB and the WNBF. Later, I competed in classic physique, all in drug-tested organizations. I earned professional status in both of those organizations, both in men's physique and classic physique. So fitness and bodybuilding was an obsession of mine for a while. I still train. I still love to train and work out. That's probably my biggest hobby outside of RCs. But the trouble I have is that I get obsessed with my hobbies to the point of being unhealthy. So it's really difficult for me to balance one or two things. That's why with the RC hobby, man, I went all in. Same with fitness, all in. I'm 100% into whatever grabs me or I grab onto. But I have gotten better lately. I still feel I've gotten into a point where I can balance fitness and working out with the RCs. And then, of course, spending time with Axel doing fun stuff with him. At Luca Pich asks, a budget 1/10 scale crawler, Red Cat Fusion all the way. And if the Fusion is too much for you, then the Red Cat Ascent. At John LR1TP, what's the top 5 first mods to a TRX4? Oh, especially the 2021 Bronco. So the TRX4, not the M, I'm assuming this is the 10th scale. I would go at it just like I would with the minis. I would go for unsprung weight. And the concepts are the same regardless of the scale. 10th scale, you have kind of a leg up because they're just more capable in general. I would go for brass knuckles, brass C-hubs, brass diff cover in the front. I'd do a steering servo because the Traxxas steering servo, it's nice that it's waterproof and it's tough, but it's really sluggish in my experience. So I would do a servo, and definitely wheels and tires. Get yourself a good set of beadlock wheels and spend the money on a good set of tires. At Tate Haywood C9K, which do you like better? The Vanquish H10 Optic or the Phoenix VS410? Ooh, that's a tough one. Those are both some of my favorite trucks. I think it's kind of like flavor of the week. Sometimes I'm really digging the buggy. I really like the Optic. Sometimes I'm really loving the VS410. I can tell you straight face, no question about it, the Optic is a better performer. So when I want performance, I'm definitely going to go to that rig. Although I have done some mods to the Optic that have put that thing at like next level performance and fun factor. So at the moment, I'm kind of leaning towards the Optic, although I love the livery and the setup that I've got on the VS410. Both of those I'll never part with, I'll tell you that. At Kicking It RC, why crawlers over bashers? I like bashers, but they break all the damn time. It's really like I can't even get through one session without something breaking on one. So it's really frustrating, especially with my 6-year-old son. When we go out together, it feels like we can't last 5 minutes before we break something. So bashers, as outrageously fun as they are, I just don't have the patience to be constantly working on them, and I find it really frustrating that they break all the time. At Joep Ilimes 4604, I know I killed that one. Sorry, brother. SCX24 RTR and upgrade or custom from the ground up? So I did a video on my last budget build when I did the Mias MB24. I tried to answer that question. I personally like to do an SCX24 and modify it. I really enjoy the incremental progress that you get when you add mods to it, you run it, you get that instant gratification, or you take a step backwards and you kind of know what you did wrong, and you build it out, build it out, build it out, and you see the end product. It oftentimes isn't even an SCX24 anymore, but I just like the iterative process of taking that. It's almost like a little infant baby that is so incapable of doing hardly anything, and then you do the work, you do the mods, and you transform it into this fully capable rock crawling machine that you designed. I just think it's really gratifying to start with something incapable and then see the transformation. I think it's more gratifying personally. At Damon Kuman D Hammer 7241, SCX24, best oil filled shocks and best small 3S lipo for tight builds. Best oil filled shocks, I've been really liking the Endura 39 millimeters. Those seem to work really well, and those were recommended to me by both Maz Designs and by Josh over at Texoma RC. That's how I got turned on to those shocks, and they've worked really well for me. Again, similar to the TRX4M shocks, the Endura shocks do tend to leak, but again, you gotta look at the cost. They're very inexpensive, around 20 bucks for these things, and they work really well. Best small 3S lipo for tight builds. My favorite is the Spectrum 300 milliamp 3S battery, but even that, it's kind of fat. So the Palm Power 3S ones are good. At YOLO NOG 61-Z7Y asks, are you a DieHard Jeep guy? Yes, I may be. I will tell you, however, it hasn't always been that way. It was only when I moved to Cape Cod that I fell in love with Jeeps, because I moved here and we went to the beach very early on in our time here, and I saw folks with their lifted Jeeps, the roofs off, the doors off and everything, and we were going down the same road to get to the beach, and they peeled off and took an off-road trail, and they got to drive on the beach, and that was it for me. I was like, that is the life I want to live here. And I got a Jeep that summer, never looked back. At Just In Time 5154, what crawler would you recommend to a beginner looking to get into the hobby? Also, what would be some of the first recommendation for upgrades that will greatly improve performance without breaking the bank? Lots of great options now for beginner crawlers. I still think the big name ones are going to be your best bet from a reliability and parts availability standpoint. The TRX 4M I think is a fantastic beginner crawler because it's super durable, it's pretty capable out of the box, and there's tons of upgrades for it. The SCX24 is also a great one because of the versatility. That 2-speed transmission is a lot of fun. So some folks, if it's your first crawler, you might be bored with the slow speed, but with the FMS you can click it into high gear and you can have some more fun with it in that higher speed. Plus those things are also tough as nails. So I think those would probably be my top recommendations for a beginner crawler. As far as mods go, check out my budget build series. Those still prove true today, and those would still be my recommendations for some good cheap mods. At Gavin Roosh RC 4552, do you still run stock Super 8 axle shafts? If not, what do you run? I still run the stock ones. I haven't had any issues with breaking shafts on the Super 8s. I know some folks have, they snap the axle shafts in the front. A lot of times that's due to the steering angle being too sharp. So I'm always cautious of my endpoints, but I can count on one hand how many front axle shafts I've broken on those, and I always run them stock. I have no issues with them. At Jolly Pirate Ahoy, how do you get a seriously stripped screw out of the front drive shaft since it's recessed in there on the SCX24? I've seen a number of different techniques to get screws out. I've heard of folks super gluing the tip of the driver to the screw, using a rubber band, trying to thread another screw in from the other side. None of those have worked for me. The only thing that has worked for me is just to drill it out and then put a bigger screw in there. At Jacob Scarborough 8038, can you do a really cheap trail crawler? Yes, I can. I just picked up this WPL for $54. I'm going to be doing a video on this with Axel soon. It's going to be fun. At Last One Left 96, why do you prefer travel over performance? When I got into the hobby, the crawler hobby specifically, there was something about the way the suspension articulated that I found completely mesmerizing. And then when I found out you could add bigger shocks, you could do tips and tricks on how to get more and more and more, I became obsessed and I just loved it. I still love it. It is just one of the most entertaining things to me that you can do with these little RC crawlers is to get the long travel and the articulation out of them. Now I've kind of graduated to a more refined build taste, if you will. I go for a kind of a middle ground where I still like to have some articulation for fun, but I recognize that to the extreme you really sacrifice performance. So I still keep some builds like the old flex machine here purely for fun, and then I do some with short shocks. But ultimately it just came down to it was the most enjoyable thing, and still is one of the most enjoyable things in the hobby, and that's what it's all about, is having fun. At blank 4875, what or who got you into the crawling part of RCs? So as you guys know, my daily driver, you may not know, my daily driver is a 2021 Jeep Gladiator, a blue Rubicon Jeep Gladiator, and I love my Gladiator. And I was actually out on a trail run when some other Jeep buddies, we were up north in northern Mass, and we were out on a trail, and my friend Mike busted out an SCX24 Jeep JLU, and the kids were playing with it, and I thought that was pretty cool. And he told me where the hobby shop was that he got it from, which was coincidentally 2 miles from my house. So I started looking online. I googled this thing, and I saw that Axel made a blue Jeep Gladiator Rubicon look just like mine. So I was like, I gotta have that, even if it was just to put on my desk at work. That's how it all started. I was really looking at it just as a piece of memorabilia. So I went to the hobby shop, Centerline Hobbies, which I love those guys. I picked it up. They had it there. I saw the price tag on it. It was like $150. I was stunned. I couldn't believe it. I was like, $150 for this little thing? I put it down. I left. I came back, fondled it some more, left, came back again, fondled it some more, bought it, took it out to the beach. Actually, I had my Jeep out on the beach, unboxed it there on the trail, and the rest, it was history. I was hooked right there. It was all over from that point. At Wyatt Gallard 5286, what's your thoughts on the Red Cat Fusion Pro tent scale? Looking into my first big crawler, and I would like that one. You will not be disappointed. That is a fantastic crawler. Still one of my all-time favorite tent scales. I love mine. I absolutely love it, and I would recommend it to anyone. looking for a high performance 10 scale. The thing is incredibly capable. Huge bang for the buck there. You will not regret it. At 16 Salon 6803, what radio transmitters do you like the best? I gotta say, my favorite is the RadioLink RC8X. I've had this thing for a while now. I love this radio. This thing is amazing. It's a bit bulky and it's kind of heavy and kind of large, but I just love the color touchscreen on this, the display, all of the features. So much customization on this. It is hands down my favorite. A bit pricey, but I think it's well worth it for what you get with this thing. If you're looking for something less expensive, I do still swear by the FlySky GT5. At Coca-Cola, any issues with the CVD? It says wishbones, I'm assuming dog bones, on the RC all-wheel drive portal axles. I've seen a lot of older reviews saying they are prone to failure. Interestingly, I've only broken 2 CVDs on my RC all-wheel drive portal axles. And I've had them on this SCX24, old blue back there, for, geez, almost, 2.5 years now? And I've only broken 2. Now, granted, I don't drive it as much as I used to, but still, I ran it hard. That was my go-to rig for a while, and I had really good luck with those axles. I do have a couple other sets of RC all-wheel drive axles, and I haven't broken any in those either. I know that they have upgraded the axles recently, but again, I haven't broken any. And going back to the Super 8 question, and maybe I'm just not as hard on axles as other people are, I'm not sure, but I haven't had any issues with the RC all-wheel drive axles. At EKJ 24,000, can you do another video on the EVO Pro and what brushless motor will fit in the EVO Pro? And will any of the 2-in-1 brushless motors fit on the EVO Pro? I am working on the EVO Pro video as we speak. I don't have it right in front of me. It's in my truck, actually. But yes, I will have some more EVO Pro content coming for you. DirectRC just ran a crazy sale on those. I don't know if it's still up, but $101 to get an EVO Pro. So I have a feeling that a bunch of people picked them up. So I'll be doing some more content on those. As far as brushless motors go, anything that fits the CR18P is going to fit that truck. So you know that Fury Tech's got a good lineup for those. I don't know if they've released any of the Unities, the 2-in-1s that'll fit that yet, but I know that they've got a variety of brushless motors out there. At Vincent Nasembeni 5330, what's the best SCX24 in your opinion to upgrade and make into an amazing crawler? Good question. I think it's the Deadbolt. I think I did a video on this very early on. Actually, you know what I did? I did a poll online through Instagram to see who was, in the audience's opinion, the best performing crawler, and it was the Deadbolt that narrowly edged out the C10. And I agree with that. I think that the Deadbolt has an advantage with the longer wheelbase, and I do think it's a better start. It's got the more clearance with the body. It's set up a little more aggressively than the other crawlers are, the SCX24, so I think the Deadbolt is the best way to go. At Moto Sessions, I have a bone stock SCX24 looking to upgrade it. Where do I start? Motor, wheels and tires, linkage, what vendors? Again, check out my budget build series. I will update the budget build for 2024. There's lots of new options out there, but the mods that I used in those videos still reign true, so check those early videos out. At Mason Briner 6098, how much did your Endura Tarantula build cost you to make? Also, if you were starting with a stock TRX 4M, would you do an Endura Tarantula or a Mias Ripper? When I costed out the Tarantula, I think it was around $350. I would do the Tarantula. That is my favorite of that in the Ripper. The Ripper is a nice kit, but boy, do I love that Tarantula. It's just so capable, and the thing has just been bulletproof. It has taken some significant tumbles. I've put that thing through the ringer, and that chassis is held up great. I've put multiple motor combinations, axles, shocks, and everything, and it just seems to respond so well to everything that I throw at it. So I really like the Tarantula kit. It's probably, I would say it's my all-time favorite TRX 4M that I've built is the Tarantula, and I don't plan on ever getting rid of it. I love that thing. At Steel Seeker 872, will you ever add on to your indoor course or build another one? Yes, the indoor course is dying for a refresh. I was just telling Axel the other day, we were playing on it, that we've worn it down to the cardboard framing underneath in some places, so it needs a refresh. I'm debating if I want to tear off Mini Moab and start fresh, maybe do that section over again. I like the kind of foresty theme that we've kept. I'll probably just do a refresh on that, but I'd like to tear apart Mini Moab and do another more challenging section there. That will be coming soon. That might be a good winter project. At Logan Gates U6F, what is a good weight for a good capable 24 scale RC crawler? Mine weighs about 450 grams. Is that too much? No, it's not too much. It's less about how much weight you have and more about how it's distributed. So if you have 450 grams but your weight distribution is 50-50, that's a no-go. If you've got a 700 gram truck that's 60-40 front and rear, that thing's going to be a beast. If you've got a 200 gram truck and that thing is 60-40, it's probably going to outperform the 450 gram that's 50-50. So it's more about the strategic placement of the weight, where it is on the truck versus the overall weight. Now, that being said, I do think there's a sweet spot, probably between 400 and 600 grams, in my experience, is the best way to go. At RC Crawlers 209, what is the better motor for the TRX 4M? The Micro Viper from Endura or the Fat Viper? And part 2, do you think Traxxas will do a TRX 6M at some point? Motor question, I think the Fat Viper, no question. To me, the Micro, the Purple Viper, is just too fast. Some folks like wheel speed. I'm a slow speed guy. I like the real kind of glacially slow rock crawlers that I don't need a lot of wheel speed. I like to have the torque to bump up over obstacles. I don't need a lot of wheel speed. That Purple Viper to me is just too much. Even on 2S, that thing is super aggressive. So to me, the Fat Viper is near perfect. TRX 6M, yes, I do think we'll see a TRX 6M. If you look at what Traxxas is doing with the M line, they're slowly duplicating what they did with the TRX 4s in the M lineup. So I think it's only a matter of time before we see a TRX 6M. And I'd be pumped for it. The Hobby Plus 6x6 hauler is super fun. I'd love to have a TRX 6M version. At Axel Ness, can you recommend a good push-pull leg routine for muscle hypertrophy? Oh man, you're speaking my language here. Got to be careful. This video is going to get 2 hours long. I'd recommend, I've done push-pull legs or a variation of push-pull legs for about 10 years straight now. It's one of my favorite splits. I did Frank Zane's push-pull leg routine for a long time and I got great results with that. But I'll tell you what has worked incredibly well for me is the male physique templates from Renaissance Periodization. Check out their website. Get the male 6-day template. That is a great PPL split. It does cost some money, but it's worth it because it's a great split and it gives you an awesome template that you can use for years and years and years to come. I also have my old training programs. If you're serious, if you're interested, shoot me an email. I'm happy to share my training templates. At Adam Iser 6385, what's your #1 recommended tires for SCX24 and power system? Thanks for all the great videos. Thanks for watching, Adam. I appreciate it. #1 tires at the moment is the Little Guy Racing Parts Black Labels. Those things are crushing and everything that I put it on. I love the Black Labels in both sizes. If you want a smaller scale tire, the 57 millimeters are excellent. If you want a bigger tire, the 63 millimeters are excellent. So as of right now, the Black Labels from LGRP are my favorite tires. Power system. I think the FuriTech Unity is probably my favorite power system at the moment. I love the convenience of the 2-in-1. It's waterproof. You still get the functionality from the wireless app. It's got great wheel speed, great torque and control. It's just an overall great setup. So the Unity is at or near the top for sure right now. That being said, I know that we have at least 2 other brushless systems coming for these trucks from big name manufacturers that we have not seen yet. So to be determined. At Cactus WTO, would you ever buy an SCX6 Gladiator if they ever make one in a heartbeat? I have reached out to Axel and my contacts over there and pleaded for the SCX6 Gladiator. So absolutely, I will be first in line to pick up one of those. At Let's Get It RC, who's the better crawler between yourself and Axel? Axel by far. He's the man. He's got incredible hand-eye coordination and he has grown so much in this hobby in the last couple of years. It's all being completely serious. He has done extremely well lately and he's a very versatile driver. So if he got a little more patient he would be incredibly good on a crawler course, like a comp crawler course, but he's doing really good right now. At Arthur Laventurier 69, have you planned something special for 150 or 200K subscribers? I've been kicking in that around. Honestly, 100K came and went so fast, I couldn't even plan anything, and 150 is right around the corner. I probably don't have time to plan anything for 150. I'll probably do something huge for 200K. The growth that the channel has had in the last year has been astronomical and something that I was not prepared for. I'm so grateful for everyone who has contributed to that. And yes, I will absolutely do something for 200K. Few more here. I got lost in this and I'm getting long on time here. At Aaron Gifford, what's your side hustle, aka real job, to support your RC hobby? It does really feel like that sometimes. I'm the Executive Director and Chief Operating Officer at a Maximum Containment Biomedical Research Center. We focus on pandemic preparedness, studying viruses, specifically emerging viruses that have pandemic potential. So I have about 223 people. We do about $50 million a year in revenue. Super fun. I've been in research administration for about 15 or 17 years now. I've kind of lost track, but I really enjoy it. I really enjoy the business aspect of it and still getting to get in there with the scientists. It's really fun and it's really rewarding. At Keller Road 8634, of all the RCs you have, what's the one you wish you had in a 1-to-1 scale? Oh, that's a good question. I'm in my Gladiator. I've been kind of building my SCX10 and my real Gladiator kind of in tandem with the goal of having my 1-to-1 be as gnarly as my 10th scale. But I know the answer. Let me show you. I would like to have an old school Bronco, just like this right here. This thing would be so much fun here on Cape Cod to take out on the beach. No roof, all open. This thing would be a blast. So this would be my ideal 1-to-1 right here. At Boiled T 479, will you ever do a Hardbody WT Micro style build? Think they're awesome. They are awesome, and I have one right here. I love the WT Micro bodies, and I will do some more with them. I was just thinking the other day, I really loved how this thing came out. The issue is Axel stole it from me right away, and I haven't been able to do anything with it since. So if I'm going to do something, I got to build my own, which I definitely should do. At RC Junkyard TN, first off, love the content. Thank you very much. Second, would you ever host a meetup, meet and greet / crawl comp? I would love to do that. I've been kind of kicking around the idea of hosting something at Crawler Heaven, our go-to spot here in Massachusetts. It'd be a little tricky logistically just because of where that place is located. But yes, I would love to host a meet and greet and competition. At Sneaky Glaciers, what do you use to clean your trucks and what do you do to waterproof them? I use CowRC products, so I really dig all of the CowRC stuff, like the hide wipes for the bodies and parts and chassis and the bench and my hands and everything. I like these a lot. Also, the parts wash is excellent. The wheel and tire cleaner is excellent as well. So I really, really like the CowRC products. Simple Green also works really well and can't beat old Dawn dish soap. To waterproof them, again, CowRC, I've been using this Cow Formal waterproofing for all of Axel's trucks that aren't waterproof with components from the factory. This is the stuff that I use. At RWF6390, how has the RC hobby helped with your father-son dynamic? It's the main reason I got into RC cars, so that I could connect with my son and share an interest. And do you have any advice in the RC world about how to keep that going? Oh boy, this is a doozy right here. I'm going to try not to get super emotional answering this question. There's so much I want to say to answer this one. I'm trying to think about how to do this concisely. I'm so grateful for the RC hobby and the relationship that Axel and I have built around it. We connected over this so deeply and we've had such tremendous fun with it. And the experience that we've had through the RC hobby are easily the best times of my life that I will look back on. And part of the reason why I started the YouTube channel was so that in 30 years from now, I could look back at this and hopefully he could look back at this and think of these times as some of the best times of his childhood, and me can look back at this as some of the best times of my life with him for sure. As far as kind of practically helping with the father-son dynamic, it's really helped us bond We go out together. It's just me and him. We go out in the woods. You know, there's no screens. There's no technology. It's just him and I. We get to have really fun conversations. For me personally, it's really helped me develop patience. You have to be extremely patient with him, especially since he started so young, taking a 4-year-old out with these pretty complicated RC cars. It's really easy to get frustrated. There were times when, you know, I lost my cool and I yelled at him and I felt so bad. So it only took a couple of those for me to really realize that it needs to be fun. But it's helped me personally control my emotions and develop empathy and patience. It's also helped him develop focus, and it's really helped him with his technical skills and his confidence. Like when we meet people in the RC hobby, the RC community is amazing people. So it's really helped him open up and develop social skills, and I encourage him to do that. I encourage him to talk about his RC trucks and his builds, and it's really helped to build his confidence. So he and I have grown together. I think the RC hobby and this dynamic between the two of us has been strengthened so much by the RC hobby and the community. Any advice on how to keep that going? This is a tricky one because I'm dealing with this myself, because Axel is already starting to kind of diverge and develop other interests. There's kids in the neighborhood that he loves to play with. He spends most of his time playing with the kids in the neighborhood. We go out less and less. I try really hard not to force it on him. It's easy to want to cling on to that and try to entice him to come with me or go out with me. But in those instances where he does kind of go with me, I think he feels guilty and he just goes with me. It's not fun for either of us. So you've got to kind of let it flow organically. If he drifts off, you got to support those interests too. But keep doing your thing. Keep him engaged. I keep showing Axel what I'm building. Look at this new release. Look at this new build I'm working on. And he'll come back around. So I would say just support him in whatever he wants to do. Keep doing the RC hobby. Look for opportunities to take him out and keep that going. His interests will evolve. But if there's ways that you can grow the hobby to grow with his interests, that's one thing that I've been successful with, moderately successful with Axel, but I'm right there with you, man. I'm going to be struggling on how to keep this going. If I got to let go of it, it's going to be hard, but I'll be able to look back at these memories that we've made as some of the best of my life, for sure. What do you think? Do you like RCing together?
Yeah.
Yeah?
And I want to keep doing it.
You're going to keep doing it?
Yeah.
You're going to do it forever?
Yeah.
Yeah? Are you going to take over the channel eventually?
Maybe.
Maybe. One more. I'll do one more here. Let's see. At Everyday Minimalist, I want to make micro RC content. What should be my first video? Oh boy, I picked a doozy for my last one. I could do a whole hour-long video on this one. I would say, what do folks ask you about? What are some of the questions that you get asked? What are some of the most frequent comments on your content that you get? Let the market dictate what you should put out. That's kind of one of the things that I did early on and still do, is that I use other forums to kind of gauge what content I should be putting out. It's like when I first started, it was all about the articulation. How do you get so much flex out of your builds? And all those were pouring in from Instagram, those DMs and comments. So I use that, and I still use those other platforms for market research to inform on what content is hot, what's trending, what do folks want to see. So I would just look into the data that you've got and see what folks are asking for and find out what questions you can answer, what value you can provide, and then go all in and do your best to provide the most value, give folks the best answers. All right, my friends, this was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts below in the comments. Should we keep doing these? I'm happy to keep doing it. This was great. If I missed your question, make sure you send it in again in the next one. We'll try to make this a regular feature. So as always, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out and submitting your questions. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done so, and I'll see you in the next video.